I've done those things to my body. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I want to give people the option to know the other side of the information so that they can enter their decision with as many things to know as possible.
And Kehlani, you said you felt a turnaround
Immediately.
Immediately.
It was instant.
Big Boy's
Big
Neighborhood.
Boy.
Kehlani is in the neighborhood. Big interview, Natalia.
Kehlani, you've talked a lot about the spirituality that you've had and like this new feeling that you have, and we've had the pleasure of experiencing all the different Kehlanis. Looking back though, did you ever imagine you could be this happy?
I didn't think that I would get out of my own way. I think that it's really easy to succumb to, all the things that happen to you. And it's easy to really, I think we all walk the line when a lot of things, when people go through a lot of things, we walk the line of like becoming the victim in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I necessarily ever had a victim mentality, but I definitely hit a period in my life where I was like, why is my life this chaotic?
Right.
I was like, why does it feel like there's always some drastic, really huge, ever since I was born, thing happening to me? And then I really just had to shift that entire perspective. And I definitely didn't think I would get to a point where like I'm completely like untouchable. Like no, like the craziest thing could happen to me right now. And I'd be like, all right, back to what I'm doing. I got stuff to do.
Yeah. But and even arriving to that, it takes time.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
It
and
really takes time.
It may not always be like this. Like there probably will be things as I grow that are like different levels of adult frustrating. I'm only 27. Like I don't know what being frustrated in my mid 30s is. I don't know what, could happen in my 40s, things like that. So like there probably will be things that like I'm not equipped to handle yet because I don't have that set of tools.
Right.
But
you're looking at it at a so-called great age too.
Yeah.
Because
That's what I'm saying.
God willing, there's a lot of life ahead of you.
I know.
And there's so many things that you think, like I remember even just growing up and, and I say we had, bouts of homelessness, everything. And you do get to a point, where you say, why is this happening to us? And that's a real question.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Why were we dealt this card, this deck of cards, so on and so forth. But then when you get like a certain thing that happens and you think like, man, this is it. And then something else happens.
Yeah.
So it'll always kind of be something we just got to learn how to not really have it knock us off our square. And with me, I think that like I still hurt. I'm a very sensitive person, so on and so forth. But
I
think,
hurt too.
Yeah, when my mom passed, that's when I can measure hurt.
Yeah.
Like certain things that people kind of like trip off of.
Yeah.
I'm like, that doesn't really
It's
hurt
not that
me.
deep. Yeah.
And their hurt is their hurt.
Yeah. But for you.
Yeah, but for me,
everything's personal.
Yeah, it's like, nah, I know what another pain is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I know how not to get caught up in that. I
feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Now with you came out as far as like pronouns, and that's still something, Kehlani, that I'm still, it's new to me still. Where sometimes even walking into a room, sometimes I'm always like, hey queen, hey this, hey that.
Yeah.
But now my approach in a room is somewhat different too, and I've never had anybody that came at me rude or try to correct me or anything.
I mean, most people aren't rude unless it's deliberate.
The way, yeah.
I don't meet too many
Action,
people
reaction.
who like identify as something other than cis, that literally if you're being genuine that they'll be like, I said this is da-da-da. Like, I don't mean, there's not too many people I know like that. It's usually when it's like you've been told and then you deliberately are other.
Right. So it's action and then it's a reaction.
Yeah, it's very reactive.
So they.
Yeah.
Okay.
She and they. It's
All
not
right.
that deep to
so
me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm not going to cuss anyone out. It's also like, I'm so fluid consistently that sometimes I identify heavier on one side than the other. Sometimes certain things sound better to me in the moment and certain things sound, better to me otherwise. I think that I'm ever changing in that way.
Right.
I'm always changing. Certain energies are more present than others at certain times for me. And I just don't put that same pressure on myself. I think even the conversations that ended up, even putting it out there, I had she, they in my bio for a good 5-6 months before, somebody asked me about it. And then it was all over the internet seeming like I was being
nobody
I'm
read.
letting you guys know what I need. You know what I mean? And I've always had the same energy about it of just like, this is just what it is. I think I think it's simpler than a lot of people are observing it as.
How did you arrive there, though?
I just feel like I'm just a person,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and there are very much parts of the idealized and the societal made version of womanhood that I do really appreciate and identify with, which is why I haven't, you know, completely rid myself of, you know, the she pronoun.
Right.
But I feel like I'm just a person. Like, I feel like I'm really vast, and it necessarily doesn't always get encompassed in just like the conversation of womanhood, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
I feel like people have always done this thing with me where it's like, womanhood this and womanhood that, and how does it feel to be that they don't do to men, or that they just, I feel like that conversation gets eliminated when we're just talking about who I am as a person. So I think that that's kind of also where it came from too, is like, just talk to me about my personhood. You know what I mean? People have always done this thing where I'm like, that is, when I had to think about it, is that even the basis of what makes me who I am? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? For me to feel like I have to push it all the time, you know?
Yeah. Do you feel like people put certain things on you? Because, yeah. Okay.
All the time. Right. I think we were just talking about this last night in my living room.
No, we weren't.
Not us. My friends.
Okay,
my friends.
Your other friends. Your
yes,
other friends.
We had played this game, and the card said, what are 5 words that can describe how you're perceived, and are they accurate? And I couldn't think of any way that I think I'm perceived that's correct.
Right.
Except for lately, I think I'm perceived a little better, with like people understanding that I'm like growing and I'm really happy and like I'm a good mom and, you know, things like that. And I care about the things I'm putting out in my job, and that I'm into all these other things. But I think up until now, like most perceptions of me were so off that when people would tell me about myself, I'd just be like, how are you getting that? Like, where is this coming from? Like, I'd see under blog post conversations about myself, or I'd see like comments, or I'd see, you know, rooms of people like this, you know, conversing about me without me being there. And I'd be like, how, like, you're so off. It's crazy. If you spent a day with me, you'd realize you were off.
Have you had that told to you sometimes? Like, if either you'll leave or you'll meet somebody and they'll say, oh, you're different than what I thought.
All the time.
Right.
Every single time. Like, every single time somebody got to know me, they'd be like, oh man, I had no idea. Like, I had no idea you were like this. Like, I don't know. They would tell me whether they thought I like spoke out too much, or I always had something to say, or I was like really liked being in the limelight, or like I liked attention, or I seem like really. I've also been told that I seem really standoffish, or like I seem like really anti the world and like only pro me. And I'm like, that's so interesting. Like, all of it is so interesting, because none of it could be further from like who I am.
Do you keep a tight
you know?
Circle of friends though?
Absolutely.
Right.
But I also, and at the same time, I'm friends with everyone. Right. Like, I do keep my close circle. I'm not one of those people that's like, yeah, I move with a small circle and like no new friends. Like, I don't like that. Life is so short. Like, I'm a person that can stand on the elevator with somebody and feel like, I just had a conversation with them. It was so great. We're friends.
That's
you know what I
dope.
mean? Like, I go out to a bar and I'm like saving their number in my phone. I was like, bar friend I met last night in Venice. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is my surfer friends. These are my this friends. These are my, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm that type of person, and I wouldn't change it about myself either.
Do you cook, Kehlani? I don't know if I asked you before.
We've talked about this.
Yeah.
I think.
What is that?
Yeah, I cook.
What do you like?
I have a child.
Yeah, I guess you would cook. Huh? I guess
I mean, some
would.
people's moms couldn't cook, so I guess there's that.
Right. If we were to go to your house for dinner, what's the meal?
I feel like you've asked me this question
What's the
before.
meal?
What's the meal?
Yep, because we got it written down. See if it's the same meal.
Sometimes we learn new recipes, so
Oh,
maybe
well,
since
I mean, I think
don't
it's
give her
new
an
now.
Oh, okay.
I think it was super comfort based probably before, but now I'm like really just intense about health.
Okay.
I would probably
We didn't have it before.
I'm okay.
Yeah,
I'm
we
like,
didn't
I
have
don't know
it.
what I said. It was probably
Right,
like
yeah.
a lot of different things, but like a good salad is always good. Something really, really like refreshing. And
What's the one thing
citrusy
you eat that would surprise us?
that would surprise
Because you seem like you
I'm
would.
a tourist. I try everything.
Okay.
But I'll tell you that the things I don't eat surprise people.
Like what?
Like I don't eat pizza. I don't eat
Sorry.
burgers. I don't eat any type of hot dogs.
Don't
Am
do
I
that.
offending
Don't
you?
do that to him.
Yeah, the pizza part.
So you don't eat.
But it's because I'm allergic to gluten.
Oh,
right.
that's it.
So you don't eat pizza. You don't eat hamburgers. No
Yeah.
type of hot dog. I'm glad you said no type.
Yeah, like they
'Cause,
have all
man.
the new versions and all the
Yeah,
different meats.
man.
Like I just don't like it.
Yeah.
1,000 meats.
I
Yeah,
think
the
I
layer-
think also what it is too is like when you grow up have eaten something, so it's also why I prefer pho over ramen, because no matter how dressed up ramen is, it still gives me top ramen underneath it all.
Right.
And I like lived off top ramen and Little Caesars my whole life. And I just got to a grown up age and was like, oh, I can afford to get myself actual food now. Like, I don't have to do this.
You know what's crazy, man? We grew up, and of course, we ate so much chicken growing up. And I remember my sisters used to say, oh, my God, we're going to fly to school. But I still, like when I'm eating meat, I'll eat it.
I think there's a difference between if you ate a specific recipe of chicken all the
Do
time.
people try to eat different around you?
No, but I'm the friend that gets my friends to open up their palates.
Right.
I'm like if I meet the new friend that's like kind of like still has the kid appetite, and they're like, nah, I just like chicken tenders and pasta and stuff like that. I'm like, no, we're gonna get Thai food. We're gonna get Japanese. We're gonna get Jamaican. Like,
is there a food you won't eat aside from like gluten? You can't eat.
I'm not the person that's gonna suggest Italian.
Really?
I'm not. I'm not the person that's like, oh my God, I'm really craving pasta right now. Like, I don't know. To me, it's literally noodles and sauce, and I just can't. I can't, unless it's like Brazilian pasta. It's really good. Damn. But for some reason, I go to the Italian restaurant, I'm like, this is literally one type of sauce. There's one type of cheese, a noodle, and one herb.
Spaghetti. It's basic.
It's basic. I'm the person that wants the plate that's like a million different colors with like a million different things going on. You probably have to eat it with your hands. Like, I'm not.
You can eat your spaghetti with your hands. You're a grown woman.
Hate that for me. Hate that idea.
You can do that. Kehlani, you got your implants removed?
I did. It's the
How
best
long
thing
did you have them?
Like 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
And why you said it's the best thing. Why did you get them removed?
They're making me sick.
Like physically?
Like physically, mentally, all the things are making me very sick.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did you get them?
I got them because I wanted them.
Young.
And I was.
You wanted.
I think there was a misquoted interview that said like, I got them because everybody made me feel like I needed them. But really what it was is I was reading in the comments. There was a lot of comments on how my body looked and how I remember it went viral. There was a video that was like, damn, Kehlani's just built bad. And I was like, oh, shoot. And at the time I was like 20, 21. You know what I mean? I was 21, 22, something like that. And I literally was like, okay, I guess I was older than that because I had them for 4 or 5 years. I don't know at this point. I was 20. I think I was 22. And I was just not at an age where like I could see past what people thought about me.
Right.
And I went and made a consultation. I was like, this is going to make me feel better. You know what I mean?
Right.
And at the time, for a while, they were great. I loved them. They did what they needed to do for my confidence. They, made me feel awesome. And then I started having all these symptoms of like a woman like 30 years older than me.
30 years older.
I started having symptoms that would have been like something I shouldn't have experienced until I was like a lot older. And I went to a couple doctors and they couldn't make it make sense. I did all these tests, all these vitamin tests, all these blood tests, all these like levels in my, body. And a naturopathic doctor like got all the levels back and we did all these like, elimination diets and all these things.
It was a process, huh?
It was a process and nobody could figure it out. And then the naturopathic doctor was like, wait, are your breasts fake? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, have you ever considered that you might have breast implant illness? And I was like, what is that? And when I looked it up, there were all these stories. Mind you, I had never even heard about this.
Yeah.
But
the Western doctors ain't gonna tell you that.
Many stories and stories of other celebrities, you know what I mean? That I'm like, how come I didn't know this about them? Like stories of them being like, I got them young, they started to make me sick. With things from like hair loss to like memory loss, extreme depression, mood swings, to like vitamin deficiencies that were uncured, like unable to bring the vitamin levels back, to like bone loss and like bone sensitivity and like all these things that just didn't make any sense. And I was experiencing like all of them. You know what I mean? Like my whole lower half, my bones would just ache all day. Like I was old, like I would be literally like holding my legs. I got to the point where I couldn't sleep without pain medication. You know what I mean? Like it was bad. I couldn't be on my feet for that long. Like all my joints would ache.
How long is that going on between going to doctors? They're not
like
recognized.
2.5, 3 years.
Damn.
2.5, 3 years of me just not being able to explain like why my body was feeling
and you knew
all
what you
these
were
things.
feeling. And
I
then
was
you'll
not
tell
crazy.
a doctor,
I was like,
it's
yo,
like,
something is happening with me because I'm too young. Like I eat fairly well.
and they
I'm
check you
super
for everything
active.
but.
Yeah, and even then like levels of hormone levels that were existing in my body and like things that chemicals your bodies make that my body was making off the Richter. You know what I mean? Like super just these crazy levels of things. And literally as soon as I got them removed, everything went away.
Wow.
Everything. When I woke up for a week straight without body ache, I literally bawled hysterically. I was like, oh my, I have not felt what it feels like to live in a painless body in a couple years.
Why did you share it with the world?
Because
and it wasn't like you crusaded and you went out.
Yeah.
You know, but
I didn't
you
talk about it
said-
for a while. People started noticing. What happened was people started noticing, and this is really the point I try to make about myself all the time, is I think people had this misconception of me that like I'm always anxious to just like share something and like lead something. I often don't speak unless I'm asked or
Right.
somebody points it out, and I'm not a dishonest person. If you're going to ask me something, I'll clarify about it because I have the relationship with my fans where I want to be honest and I want to be able to control my own narrative with them. Nobody else can do that for me, you know? So people had started to be under all my comments like, her breasts look really small. We noticed when they were fake. Like, did you take them out? And I started getting them so much where I was like, yep. And I want to talk about it in a really progressive way because I also never want to tell any person what they should do with their body.
Right, I hear you.
Cosmetic surgeries aid in the safety of some people. You know what I mean?
Right.
When it comes to trans women and trans men, it can literally be the thing that saves a life. It can literally be the thing that, you know, makes someone exit depression and like become the person that they want to be. I've done those things to my body. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I want to give people the option to know the other side of the information so that they can enter their decision with as many things to know as possible.
And Kehlani, you said you felt a turnaround
Immediately. It was instant. Even my brain fog went away. I'm talking like I couldn't remember anything. And I'd be walking around the house all day like, what was I doing? Like, what was I talking about? Like, my therapist was like, I think you have a dissociative disorder. I'm like, I'm really removed. Like, I can't connect to anything. Like, all of that was coming from chemical changes in my actual brain that was being caused by these poisonous things in my body.
And you know what's great about you sharing that is like when you said there were celebrities and you never heard the story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was there, but now you're giving us more low-hanging fruit.
They had told the story. That's the thing.
But
It's
you're
just a
giving
story
us
people
more
weren't picking up.
low-hanging fruit,
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long ago did you get them removed?
Maybe like 6-7 months ago.
Really? So were they leaking
No,
in you, or
were,
they were just because they were in there?
How I noticed
Yeah.
that it was time for real, besides the symptoms, was they started moving and shifting. Like I slept one day and I woke up and someone looked at me and was like, it's like your breast tissue is down here and like your implant has moved onto your chest plate.
Yeah.
And I went to the doctor and he like had to do like a small thing to fix it and put it back. The next day, the other one, it's like it was rejecting. And this was right after I got out of ceremony.
Wow.
So I was like, I wonder if they're just like, get these things out of you, you know? So then it kept happening. And then I realized I had been to the surgeon's office like 3-4 times in a week. And by the 4th day, I was literally crying. And I was like, I never want to come back here again. I never want to see you. Like, respect to you, respect to your business and what you do.
But I'm gone.
But this is traumatic for me.
Yeah.
I'm being put to sleep 3 times, 4 times in a week.
Damn.
That's not cool.
Man.
For these little fixes where I'm just like, yo, get these out of me. Like, get them out of me. And I'd already been told about the, breast implant illness. So I'd already had this in my mind of like, this is what's wrong with me. And a couple weeks later, you guys are in here wigging out. It's time to go.
Man.
It's time to go.
Kehlani in the neighborhood, big boys neighborhood.